everyone is streaming right now. It's like, how the fuck am I going to get any people watching? It's like, this is why I hate capitalism, honestly. It's like, Sargon is streaming, 2,000 people watching. Panka is streaming, 2,000 people watching. And there's also this Count Chilled Cow with 10,000 people watching. Who the fuck is going to watch us now?
Well, it shouldn't be about the money, V. It should be about the ideas.
Yeah, but I want people to hear the ideas, if that's not too much to ask. Like, I would prefer, because otherwise we could just talk about the ideas between us.
I don't know. I don't think it's just about the super chats. I think we should talk about the actual concepts and ideas that you've brought me here to discuss.
No, I think the people who will give me the super chats are still here because they're like the dedicated fan base. They see, oh my God, V is streaming and they will come. If it's like 10 people here, they will be here. It's not about the super chats. It's about the exposure of the ideas. Right.
So what are the ideas that you wanted to... You sent me a tweet saying you wanted to discuss freedom of speech and what the liberalists are. Is that right?
I would love to, yeah. But first of all, I want to say that there's something that I really hate about you. Like, I honestly
you hate about me? Yeah,
yes,
please go ahead.
I despise it. You sound like Uzulu. Yeah, you sound like Uzulu, and then I see your face, and there's the disconnect that pops up. And it's like, why?
I'm sorry, you'll have to repeat that. You hate me because of my voice and my face.
No. I mean, yes, but it's more complicated. Is that I hate you because you sound like
likewise.
Uzulu. Do you know Uzulu?
No.
Okay, I think
is it some Vor fiction or something that I'm not aware of? I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
We just discuss the ideas.
Yeah, but anyway, right? I think he's your twin brother. Like he's this other British chap that sounds just like you.
Right. Okay. Well, that's fantastic.
So we're doing the ad hominems now. You Nazi sympathizer piece of shit. Okay, it's your turn now. If this is how you wanna.
I'm not going to engage in this attack on people's faces, on people's voices. I really don't understand what you're trying to say, to be honest. I just want to talk about the ideas of freedom of speech.
Yeah, you sound like a guy I know, but it's not a problem. Like, he's not a bad guy or anything. It's just weird. Like, I will show you his YouTube video, and you'll tell me afterwards if it don't sound exactly like him.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll agree. Are we talking about freedom of speech in
yes, we are.
The liberalists then?
So freedom of speech, right? What is your position on it? You think everyone is on board, as far as I understand?
Well, the idea of freedom of speech being a sort of universal idea, some natural human phenomena that everyone can achieve, regardless, is laughable, isn't it, V?
Is it? Why is it laughable?
So do you not recognize that certain non-white nations haven't come up with freedom of speech?
Yes, it's an idea developed by white nations. I completely agree. I think.
Thank you. Thank you then.
As well, but yeah.
So where are we disagreeing then? Where are we disagreeing?
Well, we're disagreeing on the fact that you think everyone is on board with it. I mean, aren't a lot of white people not on board with it? As far as I understand, everyone in British politics is not on board with freedom of speech. You have hate speech laws, don't you?
So would you like to tell me what hate speech laws are then, please? Just lay out what you think they are. Just tell me, please.
Well, they are certain. Let's use the Google definition because that's about what I think.
Okay, yeah. Go for your Google definition, and we can work our way around what you're trying to define. Come on.
Okay, so hate speech is speech which attacks a person or group on the basis of attributes such as race, religion, ethnic origin, sexual orientation.
That's exactly what I need. Thank you very much. Right. So. In your liberalist superstate that you're trying to establish, where freedom of speech is universal, what are you going to? No, but this is
that's dramatic. I mean, it's not.
But let's just carry on. In the freedom of speech universal state that you're trying to establish, do you not see that you have to stop certain threats to freedom of speech, and by doing so, you'd be restricting a certain group's freedom of speech?
No, I don't see that. I'm sorry. Wait, so
you don't recognize.
Give me an example. Like which things? I mean, yeah, sure. Like there are certain things which you can use by speaking that would be considered crimes, such as blackmailing, threatening someone.
No, you're not paying attention, though, are you? This is what I'm trying to say to you when you're just dodging the question like it's a matrix bullet.
I think I'm not giving the answer.
Certain groups will seek to undermine the freedom of speech that you've established. So in order to maintain your freedom of speech, you have to stop those groups from hindering your freedom of speech. Do you agree?
Okay, give me an example of a group that is trying to stifle freedom of speech.
So would you agree that in a freedom of speech society, you can't have lots of religions and lots of religious plurality?
Well, you're going to have secularism. You're going to have separation between church and state. What people do in their private time is their business, but when they're in public, they shouldn't.
Do you not think that's incredible? Do you not think that's incredibly insulting to people of the Islamic faith? It's
Well,
one of their
fuck people
core
of the
tenets.
Islamic faith. Why do you think I give a shit about them? I mean, in America,
Because you
they
care
have-
about their freedom of speech, surely. You care about their freedom of speech, surely. And if you don't want them to be able to exercise their religious expression and religious freedom, then you're not allowing them to practice true Islam in your country.
Well, tough
Therefore,
shit,
you're
they'll have to
restricting.
move
Therefore,
out one
you're
day.
restricting.
That's good. Yeah. Well, that's good.
Therefore, you'd be restricting their freedom of speech by not caring about them.
Well, I think America does it pretty well by separating church and state, and by saying that people in public, should have certain limitations, even when it comes to religion. I mean, if I go to Saudi Arabia, I'm not going to be able to drink wine and eat pork and other things. I don't think Saudi Arabia has to become more Romanian to accommodate me. So in our society, right? For instance, inciting beheadings of atheists, even though it's part of the Islamic faith, well, tough shit, right? You're not going to be able to do it. And if they don't like it, they can leave or they can stay here and assimilate.
So therefore, if they don't assimilate, you're going to be encroaching on their freedom of speech. Do you understand the contradiction in your ideas and these liberalist
No, because
ideas?
inciting to violence is not freedom of speech. Do you understand how the law works? I mean, is this not in your law books? Do I need to explain it to you? Like, do you think
it's not violence, though, is it?
Do you think the Godfather? It is. Like, do you think the Godfather? Let me just ask you a question. You asked me 4 questions. I want to ask you one, right? Do you think the Godfather in La Familia, right? He doesn't kill anyone. He just tells other people what to do and who to kill. Do you think he's not committing crimes? I mean, he's just using freedom of speech by your expression, right? He's not actually picking up a gun and killing anyone. Yet, he's going to be convicted if caught that he's running a criminal organization. It's the same thing with the imam in Orlando who's saying gays need to be killed. And it is out of compassion that we need to kill the gays. I would consider that to be criminal activity. Do you disagree with this?
What essentially you're saying, though, is that you have to restrict freedom of speech for certain groups. You're agreeing with me.
No, it's not about certain groups. Any group that would encourage. No. You don't understand. It's not particularly Islam.
You don't understand.
Communists under this, under this law, which already exists, by the way, it's not something that I pull out of my ass. If a communist say, yeah, we need to bomb the parliament or some shit like that, then yeah, they would also have their freedoms restricted because their freedoms are now encroaching on other people's freedoms. I mean, come on, mate. This is basic bitch. Liberalism is not something that I'm pulling out right now out of a philosophy book. It's something that there are already laws for it. Inciting to violence and getting people to commit criminal shit is not something that is tolerated in any nation.
Is it criminal? Is it criminal activity and criminal behavior to want to practice Islam in the proper way in a country?
Yeah, if you want to
is that what you're saying?
If you want to cut off the hands of thieves, if you want to behead
therefore you're stopping. Let me finish, please. Let me finish.
But
therefore,
you're stopping. Why don't you let me answer?
Yes, but you're just setting up these non-argument straw men. You're essentially saying that a Muslim and Islam, those who practice it in a liberalist freedom of speech country, wouldn't be able to practice it because you recognise that you have to safeguard the rights.
You would not be able to practice the ISIS religion. But by the way, Christians would not be able to burn witches either.
You recognize that to safeguard freedom of speech, you have to protect the people who are trying to uphold freedom of speech, don't you? Do you agree with that?
No. I don't agree with that at all.
No. So you don't think that you have to protect freedom of speech from people who don't want freedom of speech?
No, because those people.
No, you just think it'll all work itself out. Do you live in the real world?
You're asking me questions and you're expecting me to give you the answers that you want to hear, right? And I am telling you
I'm
that
just looking for common sense.
Doesn't mean what you think it means. Like, yeah, you can have Muslims going around demanding Sharia law, but as long as they're not inciting to violence and they're not trying to get people to commit violent acts, yeah, they have the right to do so. Just like you, as the alt-right, have the right, to ask for minorities to be zapped or whatever Andrew Anglin comes up and drag them out, right? You have the right to do this, even though, other people might disagree with you.
Do you think that non-whites, if they were allowed all of the time in the history of time, would be allowed or would be coming to the conclusion that freedom of speech and individual liberty would be a good idea, individual rights would be good ideas? Do you think they'd come to that on their own?
Pitch the outright isn't okay with the idea of individual liberty, and they're white people. I mean, I don't even understand why.
I think they're okay. I think the alt-right are okay with those ideas for white people who have invented those ideas and tried to safeguard them. Are you going to answer my question, V? Are you going to answer my question?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I can't answer that because
no. But what has history shown? What has history shown? What do non-white groups do when they're left alone? Do they have freedom of speech? Do they have individual rights? Do they have these ideas?
What would happen if, let's say, America wasn't colonized? Will the Indians eventually invent freedom of speech? I don't fucking know. I mean, would the English eventually invent the internet if it wasn't for the Americans? Like, can you answer that?
What has history shown, V? History has shown that the Native Americans were barbarians who didn't develop anything of value for a future of humanity. And not only would they, try to not invent or protect freedom of speech, but they'd actively seek to fight it. And the fact is that non-white countries around the globe do not protect freedom of speech.
But by this logic, would white people invent gunpowder if the Chinese didn't invent it? Would white people invent medicine?
This straw man, these abstract... You must recognize that history has shown that your ideas that you're championing are white ideas.
This is just speculation and you can't prove it.
It's not speculation, it's history, it's precedent.
Okay. So do you believe that ideas are like a person of another race can't have an idea that belongs to another race? Like if let's say, a Middle Eastern group invents a religion, do you think that religion can't spread to members outside of its group?
No, of course not. No one's saying that.
But you're saying that it's a white idea, and therefore non-white idea behind it.
I can only look at history, V. I can only look at history and precedent and statistics, and I can come to the conclusion based on those facts that non-whites, when they organize themselves as an in-group in their own nations, they come to the conclusion that individual rights and freedom of speech are not something to uphold.
I think that's a morally bankrupt way of looking at it. The same way people.
But that's a fact. It's a fact.
No, well, okay, but it's a fact that when white people get together, they start World War II and they start killing Jews en masse. Like, do you want me to use this argument and play the history game? I'm all for it.
V. White people started World War II.
Well, I think it's when Germany invaded Poland. Yeah, I think that was the
I'll just leave that. I'll leave that dog whistle out there for people who are actually aware of history.
I see. Okay, so you don't think that Germany invading Poland has anything to do with World War II? It's
certainly very little to do with white people. I think white people were very much puppets in this whole thing. But let's move on to the actual freedom of speech. Can you just lay out what a liberalist society would look like then under the banner of free speech? How would you uphold that law? How would you uphold those things? I'm genuinely interested.
Well, we would get rid of hate speech laws for one. We would get rid of hate crimes.
You said you'd need hate speech laws in order to stop people from encroaching on free speech.
When did I say
hate speech laws?
No.
Right, no. So you said we originally went into what hate speech laws were, and you said when they incite violence against another individual or another person. Okay. Right? So you said you would allow the government to step in with hate speech. I mean, this is what you said, V.
Okay,
to protect freedom of speech.
Hear me out. If I go in a market and I say "fuck Muhammad," right, and I get arrested for it, which I think is possible in Britain and the UK, which person did I actually say that I will harm or hurt?
This is just a straw man. This is just not an argument.
This is literally what the hate speech law is, mate. Right? They're protecting the identity of.
But you recognise that you'd need hate speech laws to stop violence. Stop inciting violence.
Dude, like if I say that, I encourage people to go to your house and kill you. Yeah, yes. that is not a hate speech law.
But it's not. What is that then? What is that? What is that then? I don't understand. If it's not hate speech,
that is a crime because you are committing the act of
crime is a hate
violence.
Speech.
It's not. No, it doesn't.
Semantics.
Look, mate. Hate speech laws.
It's semantics.
Okay, hold on. Let me explain you the actual definition. Right? Hate speech laws.
Yeah, read it from Google, please.
Yes, hate speech laws are speech that targets against minorities, LGBT, Islam, right? The group as a whole. If I say, for instance, that I don't think transgender people are women, that is hate speech. I'm not.
Or if you said, if you said, I want to kill transgender people, that's also hate speech. My God.
No, that is not hate speech.
Inciting violence is hate speech. And you recognise that if you incite violence in a freedom of speech society, then those people who do that should be stopped in order to protect everyone
There
else's
is a
freedom of
difference
speech.
between saying it as a joke, and if you say it as a joke, it would be hate speech under current law. And it's a difference if you're actually serious, like you're organizing a group of people to actually kill transgenders. Like, do you understand that there is a difference in the level of danger for society?
I absolutely despair that you're saying you don't want free speech, you don't want hate speech under a free speech society, yet you're saying that you want hate speech laws to be in place to stop people from inciting violence. Let's go. Let's just. I don't think we're going to get anywhere.
I just want to say this. I think you believe.
Please set up another straw man, please. Thank you.
I think that you believe hate speech is more broader than it actually is. I think you believe that incitement to violence is necessarily hate speech, which is not.
Well, I'll address that
every country in
diagnosis.
Well,
I'll address that diagnosis you're trying
Romania doesn't have hate speech laws, and yet, right, you can't incite to violence. Like, do you understand that people who are mobsters or people who have underlings and send them to do criminal activities, they would not be punished if you wouldn't have these laws, and they're not hate speech laws.
I will answer that, V.
Please
so you're attempting to diagnose me as me saying I don't think I know what hate speech laws are. I'm pretty certain that these hate speech laws and the hate speech that everyone is aware of is incitement to violence. Obviously, these attacks are predicated with potential risks of violence to the individual that they're being made towards. And you recognize that you need to stop this. You need to stop speech that encroaches on other people's freedom of speech. You recognize this, and I'm glad you agree, but you're just arguing over the semantics of what's encompassed in this hate speech. Okay. You realize that you need hate speech in your civic, nationalist, liberalist society.
You were with Count Dankula on the stream, a guy who had the Nazi pug that did a Hitler salute, and now he is being prosecuted for that because apparently he's committing a hate speech law. Which person did he put his life in danger by doing that?
Didn't he allow the dogs to? Wasn't there the message "gas the Jews" in there? I'm pretty sure that could be construed as an incitement.
Yeah, well, like, do you want to guess?
Look, I've got nothing against. I've got nothing against.
So you believe that the government is legitimately afraid that he will gas the Jews? Like, is this reasonable?
Let me finish.
All right. Okay.
I think in Count Dankula's case, I think he seemed very amiable. He seemed quite a funny chap. Obviously, it was a joke, and it was intended as such. But obviously, under the law, the incitement of hate and violence was there. I know, obviously, it was ironic, but you have to realize, V, that there are some people that would say, kill all infidels in your freedom of speech society. And that wouldn't be a joke. And you'd need to stop that with the law. You'd need to take them to court. You need to take them to prison almost. In order, let me finish, in order to safeguard your freedom of speech.
Do you know what's funny? Hate speech laws actually wouldn't cover that. Do you understand this? Because the infidels are the minority, so they're not protected under hate speech laws. Do you?
I think that we're not going to get anywhere with this semantics word game.
It's not semantics.
I want to move on the discussion.
Like, the criminal code, you can open it and look it up. Like you don't.
I'm going to move on the discussion. I'm just going to move it on.
Let's move on to the discussion.
Can we talk about liberalism and what you're trying to fight with liberalism? You're trying to safeguard freedom of speech. Is there anything else?
Alt-rightism. I'm also willing to talk about liberals, but we have to talk about alt-rightism as well.
Well, you said in your tweet that you wanted to discuss freedom of speech and liberalism. So I'm here to talk about freedom of speech and liberalism.
But if you're going to mock it, then we need to talk about salt alt-rightism as well. Like,
come on, V. Come on, V. Outline your position, please. What is liberalism?
I don't know. It's not a political movement. There is no such thing as liberalism.
So are there no liberalists? What are the liberalists?
There are liberalists, yes, but there are no.
So what are they? What do they want to enact in their society that they're trying to envision?
Well, it's in the definition, right? Ism stands for activist. So liberalism.
So they're activists for what? What are they advocating for?
Classical liberalism.
Which is.
Do you want me to school you on classical liberalism?
Yeah, please do. Because I think a lot of people don't understand your position. Because let me finish. It's classical liberalism, isn't it? With the augment of you and Sargon in charge as figureheads and communist dictators.
No, there's more other people.
There's people in the audience wanting to know what liberalism is, and if you can outline them, so we can get some more potential recruits for liberalists on side, that'd be great. That'd be really fantastic.
Yeah, but there's no such thing as liberalism. So I'm just saying, if you want to talk about liberalists, I'm willing to
talk about the ideology of the liberalists and how it's going to invent policy. Please.
Classical liberalism
took a long time to get there. Thank you.
Yeah, it is a political system that allows people to succeed regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, class, and so on and so forth. It stands in opposition towards the current progressive ideology. It stands in opposition towards communism. It stands in opposition towards National Socialism as well. It's a really broad subject. If you want to discuss it, like if you want like actual specific principles or policies, I'm more willing to entertain. But it would take more than 1 hour to go through it.
I just want to ask you this question to advance the discussion: are the SJWs the enemy then in this state?
yes.
The social justice warriors are the enemy.
I mean, not the enemies in the sense of, like warfare, but they are an ideological opposite group that wants society to manifest in different ways.
Well, I'll just give you my answer to all of that bafflegab you've just spewed. You do realize that you won't defeat the SJWs with this milquetoast, race-blind centrism. SJWs are on a long road that began, with whites upending the social order, denialism, and the equality narrative. And consequently, they've surrendered their nations to others, to these SJWs. And you have to realize that to resist these SJWs and to defend your classical liberal values, you've got to return to a sort of white nation. Because these values that you claim to love they live and die with whites.
Is it whites that allowed the SJWs to take over? I don't see the SJWs.
Are you going to answer my question? Are you going to answer my question?
Over in Saudi Arabia. I mean, if I want to completely eradicate the SJWs, I can just convert to Islam. It seems that the Middle East is very resistant to SJWs.
So you recognize that to fight SJWs, you have to recognize race. And you have to. You can't be this race-blind centrist. So you need an identity, because these SJWs have got a strong identity. They're not denying.
Your argument is to play their identity game. I completely remove it from the board
because of the horseshoe.
No, it has nothing to do. What? See, I love the horseshoe because I made it live rent-free in your heads right now, and you recognize it right away. But no, it's not because of the horseshoe. The SJWs are playing the identity game. It's like, you're gay and thus. You're a woman.
But it's not a game. V. Identity is not identity. Can I just speak to you? Identity is not a game. It's so insulting when you say that it's a game.
Why doesn't it exist?
Identity is inalienable. No. Identity is race, is gender, is sex, is who you are fundamentally. To say that's a game is to completely misunderstand humanity.
Should he go to his next LGBT council to find out what he needs to do as a gay person? Should go to the LGBT activist to teach him how it is to be gay? I don't understand this straw man. Why are you talking about millennial woes? Why is the straw man? It's an identity. Being gay, is it not an identity? Like sexual orientation is not what it blows. Don't you need to go to someone else to tell you what that shit is all about?
I really don't understand what are you denying? Are you denying rape? Are you denying
white advocate?
V, you're denying identity. You're denying people's identity, and that's very insulting.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not denying people's identity. I'm saying that identity shouldn't constrain you, right? You should be the best person you can be. You should not.
Yeah, and that's all great in this Sesame
That's horrible,
Street
isn't it?
That's all lovely.
Hypocrisy sucks, doesn't it?
This is all great in this Sesame Street world that you want to live in, but the reality dictates that people just will not get along with different identities. IQ is a big factor. Culture is a big factor.
No, I can say people don't get along because of class and religion. Like
humanity
with upper class people.
Humanity is broken up along. Humanity is broken up along these lines, and you can't deny people's identities. That's how so insulting.
That's your prism, and this is the SJW prism.
That's the prism of reality. V. Identity is real.
Why is it that people who talk against identity seem to gather more support than people who talk for identity?
Why is it under this current system where people have been brainwashed to consider that race is in fact a social construct? That I'm actually talking to someone.
What are you talking about? The system
Can I talk, please?
To make you understand. When they're saying white privilege.
Let me finish.
Okay, fine.
Do you recognize that our society is dominated by ideas that are
Yes.
seeking to erase identity, are seeking to erase race, are seeking to erase
No.
certain
And I will
races,
tell you why not.
such as the white race.
Yeah. Do you think Black Lives Matter is working to erase identity? Do you think that all these
Yes,
Jewish
yes,
NGOs are working to
absolutely,
erase
absolutely.
identity?
It's seeking to erase white identity, isn't it? Black Lives Matter. I know that for a
No,
fact. You know that for a fact.
there is a very well defined white identity. It is check your fucking privilege. You're a white oppressor. You brought you enslaved people, and you need to check your privilege and be a good feminist ally. There is a very strong white identity. It's just that you disagree with. I happen to disagree with it as well. But the thing that you're saying that society is erasing identity is bull fucking shit. Like the SJWs are all.
You're erasing identity. The liberalists will erase identity.
Yes, but
the liberalists will erase identity. The liberalists will erase identity. I don't
consider myself to be on the top of the pyramid. I don't consider myself to shape the current culture, which is why I'm against it.
You're trying to shape the current culture. You're trying to. You're setting up this political movement with Sargon of Akkad, where you're going to be liberalists and reign over these Reddit autists. This is what you're trying to do.
People on Reddit are autists now? Is this like the chat?
Your Reddit autists are autists.
I have never in my life went on Reddit, but okay. No, sorry, I did. I did during Gamergate.
I don't care. I don't care. I really don't care.
With some shit you don't care. What the fuck? Okay, fine. The SJW.
Can you at least recognize that liberty is not a universal human concept?
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
You agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that.
So you agree that the ideas of republic, democracy, the power to vote, all of these white ideas were in fact white ideas that developed in Greco-Roman lands?
Yeah, and Jews had a little bit of influence in modern times in shaping these ideology. Yeah.
And you recognize that places like Persia and Egypt, they never developed these concepts.
Yeah.
Non-white countries, they didn't develop these concepts.
Yes. But there's also white countries.
Thank you very much, V. That's exactly what. Why are we disagreeing? I don't understand. Oh yes, that's right. Because you don't believe in. Oh, that's right. Because you don't believe in actual people being responsible for their ideas.
No,
you just think they come out of this vacuum of
I don't
ideology.
Believe that idea can't be passed from person to person. Like I really don't see why some black ideas can't be inherited by white people and some white ideas can't be inherited by black people.
When history has shown that these ideas, when not maintained by white people, aren't maintained.
Okay, again, like if you want to bring history, I'll bring World War II.
But yeah, if you want to bring history and facts into it, this is history and facts. This is what I can't understand that you're trying to make this argument. Oh, if you want to cloud it with facts and evidence, but I don't understand what you're trying to say, V.
Well, okay, fine. Do you want me to say that liberty is an English-specific concept? I mean, the Germans didn't have it when they had National Socialism. The Eastern Europe didn't have it when they had communism.
No one's saying this. I just want you to recognize that it's racially specific.
So why do you believe that this
it's racially specific, isn't it?
Yeah, why do you believe that this idea can be passed to other non-English people? But it can't be passed, further away to, let's say, Asians and. Well,
because history has shown. Because history has shown, V, that's not the case.
Right.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
All right. But if we're going to go back in time where you only had aristocracy and shit like that, there were probably some revolts like in France trying to bring up liberty and they failed miserably at the time. You'd say, well, history has shown, and therefore, I just don't think that this is an accurate way at looking at it. Because again, I can say, well, history has shown when people push white identity, they get Nazi Germany. And this would be the argument that it's like, oh, so you're denying reality now. You want World War III and blah, blah, blah. I think this would be a very disingenuous way of arguing.
Look, Protestant liberty, the North Sea variety, is keenly unique to that region. And that was transferred to the Anglo-Saxon nations of the world. America, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, old South Africa, New Zealand, even India took some ideas from it. And that helped it to become one of the best British colonies, right? Nations like China during the 16th to the 18th centuries were incredibly developed, right? But they didn't develop these concepts as liberty, because they were European concepts. The same can be said for other nations. Sure, they were great. Sure, they developed well. But these ideas of liberalistism, these ideas that you're trying to see in this ideal world, they are uniquely European. They're deeply European or white. These are white ideas, aren't they? It's more than just skin. It's culture, it's ideas, it's religion, it's even genetics.
We established this, and I'm not denying. I don't know why you speak with so much pathos and ethos, but okay. What we didn't establish is the fact that you don't believe that other people that aren't white can't inherit ideas from white nations.
It's not a case of belief. It's a case of evidence. It's a case of have you heard of Liberia, for example?
So if have
you heard of Liberia?
Up, didn't they? But the question is, if you have a child that's half white and half black, is it like only half for liberal ideas, like half anti-liberal? Like is it going to be like 50% democracy and 50% authoritarianism?
What is this straw man? I don't understand.
Well, what is it a straw man? If ideas are passed by the dick, right? If this is the only way you can pass ideas by fucking someone and having an offspring, because apparently there's no other way. Like communication hasn't been invented.
Didn't I just say that race was more than just skin? It's ideas as well as religion, as well as genetics.
They pass with the cock, right? Like in order to pass ideas, you have to fuck the idea into them. So if it's like half race, if it's half white and half black. Is it going to have like half white ideas and half
It's more than
ideas?
just skin. It's more than just skin. It's ideas. It's religion. It's genetics.
Genetics, mate. Yeah, like fucking someone is genetic. It's not just skin. You understand this, right? I mean,
I don't understand the straw man you're trying to construct. I find it very bizarre.
Straw man for the
I find it very bizarre.
Like, okay,
I find it very bizarre that you don't think that certain ideas come from identities, from groups of people who've collectivized under an identity, such as white people, such as black people, such as Chinese people. But you deny this and just think that I'm talking bizarrely about skin color. It's insane.
Electricity. Electricity is a scientific idea. Other nations apply this from taking it from the whites, right? We have electricity almost everywhere around the world except North Korea. Because people took an idea that white people...
Okay, then, V. So do you think... Okay, all right, I'm happy to run with that. Do you think that if you took whites out... If all whites were genocided today, right, do you think that these ideas, these white ideas that liberalists want to protect, do you think that they'd be upheld by a non-white population of the Earth?
How on earth could I answer that? That's just
you can answer it. You can answer it by looking to history and precedent and go, no. Because history and precedent and evidence has shown that that's not the case.
If you really want, I can give you a precedent. You can look at the Middle East after the Arab Spring.
These are outliers. I'm talking about the actual. These are outliers, and I'm actually talking about the fabric of history. I'm talking about the fabric of history.
Well, you don't know if some of these outliers would have gained power and support that imposed their ideas.
Some of maybe, but history has shown that they haven't.
Oh my God! You keep saying history show like
because these are facts. This is what history is. History allows us a bedrock for which to make our predictions and conclusions.
Just because something happened in the past doesn't mean it will continue in the future, mate.
Oh, thank you. That was great. That was a great little
sound. Robots. People change, ideas change. I mean, just because religion was a thing for 2,000 years doesn't mean a nation can't become atheist.
So, what was your answer? I can't remember. What was your answer to will a non-white population of the Earth? If all whites were genocided today, do you think they would
I think the Jews
maintain the idea?
Would vanish. Do you think they'd democracy? Yeah.
Do you think they'd maintain the ideas of freedom of
speech? I think Japan would manage to maintain the ideas. I think Botswana, for instance, if it becomes really rich and successful, could enforce their ideas on the neighboring nations.
But what evidence do you have to make these conclusions?
Well, what evidence do you have to say that is not? You asked me for my opinion.
I have thousands of years of history on my side, V, and you have nothing.
Right.
You have Sargon of Akkad's words and your liberalist cult.
All right. Now let's talk about the South rightism cult. Like, what? How do you plan on saving the white race?
Well, the first step would be to increase the white birth rate.
How do you plan on doing that?
You would incentivize people to do so.
How do you say? I mean, I would know.
Well, financially would be the best. Well, let me finish, V. Okay. Financially would be the best way to help people under the current system. If you incentivize mothers to stay at home and have children, if you incentivize men to go out and not be neets, neets rise up and go out into society and have families, especially white neets, which are the increasing number in the world, then yeah, absolutely, you'd encourage the white birth rate. That's the first step.
How many outright talking heads have children?
This is a non-argument. I don't understand. This is just not an argument.
Like if you believe that this shit is important and your talking heads are unable to produce offspring because they're mostly faggots, let's be honest.
I am not here as a representative of Mike Enoch or Richard Spencer. You'll have to speak to those as individuals.
Okay.
Like
How many kids do you have then?
Huh?
How many kids do you have?
I have no kids.
Why not? You need the government to pay you to fuck?
I really don't understand your position, V.
Well, my
V,
position is why can't
right,
you lead by
okay, V.
example?
For
Like,
example,
this is
yeah,
what
let
I
me
don't
speak.
get.
Let me speak. V.
You asked me a
In
question.
your country,
so I was
yeah. In your country, V.
Yeah.
Are there certain things that you don't like?
Yeah.
Like what?
People moving to multiculturalism Germany and multiculturalism.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. So
Yeah.
in that society with things you don't like, yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you wanting liberalism?
Do you know what I do about
Why
the
are
things
you wanting
I don't like?
liberalism? Why are you wanting liberalism?
I will answer, but first I'll
Romania?
answer the first question. Do you know what I do about the things I don't like? I don't.
Go on.
Yeah, I don't leave my fucking country. That's what I do. I don't like the fact
So you're a
that people are
nationalist.
leaving.
Fantastic. You're a nationalist.
Yeah, well, it is fantastic,
Great.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Holy
but
shit, leading by example.
Yeah,
So
carry on then. Carry on. So why do you want liberalism in your country?
No, I want liberalism.
Okay, classical liberalism. I'll give you that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why do you want that in your country?
Because it makes nations prosper economically.
But how come? How come, V? It's not in your country already. If that's what you want.
Well, it's not in my country already because we went out of communism.
But how come it's not in your country now? If that's what you want, why aren't you doing that right now?
But I am doing things by example.
No,
like,
you're doing things, but you're advocating
doing
things,
these
but you're not doing any actions, are you?
With?
You're not doing any actions, are you?
What do you mean I'm not doing any actions? I was planning to go to the liberalist meetup. Unfortunately,
you were planning on going to the liberalist meetup, but you missed your plane.
Yeah, unfortunately,
so that was already a failure of the liberalist movement.
Unfortunately, my grandmother had a heart attack, so I missed my plane. I mean, yeah, sometimes priorities. I guess liberalism will have to wait when your family member is having a heart attack. Really, I'm really sorry. It's like, what can I do? People who wanted to see me, I totally apologize for that. I promise it will not happen again. And by the way, like all this grasping at straws. Do you know why Sargon was like circulating the building? You couldn't have asked him, by the way, but like you were right there behind him. It's like, oh, Sargon, why don't you go to your people? He was looking for a gift for his mother because the stores would have closed after the meetup. Like I thought that was so petty of you not to just ask him as a normal human person, but I forgot you're not a normal human person. You're
I'm glad, V, you're bringing up these little ad hominem attacks. I love this because it just makes me confident that makes me confident that I can declare victory on this little escapade.
Okay,
you call me here. I think we've discussed the ideas that you've called me here in your tweet for. So I'm happy to leave now if you want to leave that.
Well, that's perfectly fine. I mean, I want to.
I will claim my victory. I'll give a shout out to my channel. Please subscribe to Godwinson if you like the ideas that. Please subscribe to Godwinson if you like the ideas that I presented here.
Stop shilling, you honey badger.
Thank you very much.
Do you know how? By the way, people in the chat, if you want to have
and also V, stop wanking off to that Vorfix.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
And stop being a Nazi sympathizer, mate. Totally not cool.